Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, it's time!
Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win!
Tyree talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, gift stealing, wheeling dealing, limousine like, jet flying, son of a gun.
Taylor's gone. Jonathan Taylor. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy.
I'm never taking a backseat to anybody and don't plan on starting now.
Woo! IU America. They got a football team now.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
There's no doubt about it, yeah, you mean Gene Okerlund. You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard to another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from high atop Rickhouse number 1 of the Hard Truth Distilling Company. Welcome aboard in this post-Thanksgiving Friday edition. I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday and are in the midst of a great holiday weekend. There's plenty to talk about as Indiana basketball has they seem to have some issues. Back-to-back beatdowns in the Bahamas. Indiana football takes on Purdue in the bucket game coming up on Saturday, tomorrow, and lots of other big-time games this weekend to keep an eye on. So plenty to talk about in that regard. Lots of NFL action going on yesterday as well. Lots to do, but basketball, man, I watched basketball all day. The upsets were great. You had Louisville and daggone it. Who were they playing? I forget. Wasn't Auburn, but fighting for a spot in the championship game of the Bahamas, while Indiana and number 3 Gonzaga were playing in the losers bracket, and then Indiana will now take on a Providence team after they lose again in the ultimate losers bracket. Things are not looking good for the Hoosiers right now, but they've got a season to go, of course. But the problem is, this is again similar to what happened last year as the start of the season, when you have the opportunity to get some quality wins under your belt and you don't. That's going to come back to haunt them when the NCAA tournament rolls around, and especially with how we're seeing some of these other Big Ten teams play. Illinois now looking like the potential one of the potential favorites to win the conference. Purdue is looking very good as well. I'm trying to think of who else that has kind of jumped up to Rutgers. Rutgers looks good in a loss to Alabama. Man, it's going to be. I haven't seen UCLA yet, but it's going to be tough at the top. Ohio State looking good, playing well, and that's the thing, playing well. And the reasoning of, having some new faces on the court, that stuff doesn't fly anymore. I'm sorry, it doesn't, especially when you have a team like Louisville who plays as well together as they have. They have 13 new faces on that roster, so that those excuses, they just don't fly. Hope everyone's doing well. Looking forward to your comments. Thanks a lot for everybody, no matter how you're listening, whether on one of our great affiliates like 97.7 ESPN, the Ref, always the right call in Evansville. Love talking to, I'm on with them quite often. I'm with Brian down there, and I love, it's a great area. I was just down there with my daughter having a Thanksgiving dinner the other day. We met as a central location. And, of course, up in the region on WJOB, 1230 a.m., 104.7, the voice of the region. And the sports station, the only sports station, the most important station in all of Fort Wayne, 1380 The Fan. Keep it tuned right here for everything you need. A lot of comments. Michigan also doing well. There you go. That's a lot of teams that we've listed already that are going to be tough at the top. But one that I did not list was Indiana. So Indiana is looking like it's going to have just not a confident season, to be honest with you right now. I don't have the confidence in them. I don't have the confidence in things changing, because you know why? Things haven't changed. They haven't changed in 4 years. That you're seeing the same exact thing. So I'm not telling anyone anything that they do not know. So it's not like I'm being a microsurgeon here and playing the role of Captain Obvious. But where are the Woodson apologists? Brian asking, where are the Woodson apologists? He's interested to see if what they want to still apologize for that nonsense. Well, let's see, five non-conference neutral court games over the last 2 years have all been double digits. The other four are like average around 25 points per game loss. So not good for the Hoosiers as they lose 89-73. They cut it down there at the end. It could have been 3 points higher, but they get a 3-point shot right at the buzzer. Indiana now 4-2 on the season. And you just have to wonder where do the Hoosiers go from here? And it's but there was a question posed to me a while back that someone, what do we have to do to get rid of Woody? Which that was not my question and not something I posed, but I said, if that's something that you truly want, then you need to hope for a poor season. And that was not something I was advocating for, nor am I. But guess what? Your successful coaches don't get fired. It's pretty simple. If you're winning, you're not going to get fired. So you're not going to have a winning team. If change is coming, you're going to have to endure a bad season. And that's just all there is to it. Yeah, Tom Crean on the ESPN team that I've never seen a game, watched a game where every time you're tuning in, you have the analyst just basically laying out the different things that Indiana should be doing that they're not doing. That's pretty bad. I mean, let's just be honest. And let's see, where was that comment? Joshua just says flat out, fire him. And Rudy asking, do I think burying mercenaries every year is the best way to contain the program? Buying mercenaries. I'm sorry. If you're talking about the transfer portal, that's a way of life. I don't have a problem with it. Louisville has 13 on their program this year. It doesn't matter if you have 1 or 13. There are going to be transfers on every team. If you have an opportunity to get better, hell yes, I say get better. But you have to have the ability to get better. You can't just get the talent. You have to do something with it. And yes, a 3-ball problem again, but guess what? You knew that going in. So it is what it is. It's not going to change. I mean, you heard Todd on the last postgame show talk about that this is just not going to work. You cannot run this style, which I'm not even sure what they're doing. I'm not sure that the players seem to know what they're doing half of the time. That they don't. It's yeah. I don't know what to say other than the obvious. Joe thinks that Ballo looked gassed after 2 minutes. His conditioning is poor at best. I'll tell you what I noticed. The only time that Indiana really played well is then when they were really PO'd. When Ballo got PO'd at the dude when they were chirping at each other, and then there was some chirpiness early on, and they played hard. I mean, they played hard. And then they weren't so mad anymore, I guess, and that kind of went away. It's, the reasons are starting to matter less and less, in my opinion, because you're seeing the same thing, and that is what you're going to see. I mean, I don't know what you expected to be, what you expect to be different. What is it that is expected to change? What do you expect to change? What would you expect to change? Why would you expect to change? There's no reason to. Indiana football has a big game this weekend as they take on Purdue in the old Oaken Bucket. The bucket game on the line for the Hoosiers for the first time to keep it back in Bloomington since 2021. And they need to do that, add that to the old brass spittoon. But they need a solid win, a convincing win. They need to get back to being Indiana. Show that you're a formidable team. I think that they need to shut Purdue down. Win 34-7, 38-7. It's going to be cold, so I'm not sure if that affects the passing game much. But regardless, they still need to. They need to win convincingly, just to get that confidence back for themselves. Number one, but to make sure you send that message to the college football playoff committee as well, that you are a solid team. I mean, I think they're in. I mean, I think a close game might hurt them. And so, Joshua says, give all the money to IU football, signals how to use it. They're going to be getting their own. And that's another thing. If people are going to stop giving to basketball, if it's not going to perform, and yeah. Well, there's going to be there will be a lot of changes after the season, regardless. You've got a lot of guys that won't be there anymore. Ballo will be gone. Gallo will be gone. Leo will be gone. I'm pretty sure Mbako will be gone. So there's going to be a ton of changes, regardless of what happens. And, making a move in the middle of the season is not something Indiana I could ever see them doing. Be honest with you. Would it be the worst thing? Honestly, I don't think so. But I just don't see it happening for a couple of reasons. I don't think that I'm not sure the Board of Trustees would allow that. So we'll see. Seeing who we can have on today, because I'm not sure that some of our guests are going to make it. Zach is in the Bahamas. He's going to try to give it a whirl. Jeffrey the Greek is computerless, I believe. But we're going to take a break, and hopefully we'll be talking to Todd Leary when we come back on this post-Thanksgiving Day Friday edition. Hope everyone's having a good one. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after these messages.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at bendavischevrolet.com and bendavisford.com.
Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off your first order.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Rebesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com.
Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Maria in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Maria Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, here on this Friday post-Thanksgiving edition. I hope you got a full belly and some rest, but there's no rest for the weary. Todd Leary, you're still out work, getting at it, it looks like, brother.
Work. Yep.
Holidays I hear you.
Back to
I hear you. Yeah, the holidays are short.
Hopefully the basketball Hoosiers feel the same way.
Oh, I'm telling you, buddy. What do you even say? It's there's not a lot to break down there other than a lot of breakdowns. Breakdown was the word there. It's like breakdown and beatdown. In game one, they just lost their heart because it looked like they got down and just didn't have much fight in them. And yet 2 days in a row, they get beat by double digits. And they were down early. It didn't take long. That's a thing that is so hard to understand, is how are they getting down so quickly? Shots, sometimes they've really taken some poor shots, but playing in those places are not easy, I know, but everybody's doing it. So that's not really an excuse.
Yeah, no, the other teams are not having any problem making shots against us. So that's not the answer. But this is what I'll say about this team. This is the team that we have, and so we have to make do with them the way they are. The problem with that, from my perspective, is this is not a team that's built to be able to come back from behind. So if they don't get off to a good start, they're in trouble. Most of the teams that can make a huge big comeback and score in bunches are teams that can fire in a bunch of three-pointers at the same time. And I'll be honest with you, I think this team is built more for that than they are for what they're doing. But this is exactly what we were afraid of when they signed Ballo. And it's hard to say adding Ballo would be a negative, because yesterday he was the best player on the floor for Indiana. But the style of play that you are kind of forced to play when you have, two bigs on the floor that are not, the most quick and nimble guys up and down the court, it just limits you to what you can do. And, that's the reality of where this team is, the way Mike Woodson likes to play. And I don't think he would take this as a negative. I'm not even saying it as a negative. I'm saying it's factual in my mind. The way he wants to play is to go down and pound it inside and beat you in the paint. He's kind of like a Bill Belichick football style. Like he wants to pound it down your throat. Where I think Bill Belichick made changes was when he got Tom Brady. They realized, hey, maybe we don't have to run the ball all the time. We could throw 7-yard passes, and those are the same as runs instead of trying to throw 20-yard passes. And they dink and dunked it down the field. And Indiana right now is dinking and dunking it. And other teams are throwing haymakers. And I'm kind of at a loss for words, even though it sounds like I'm talking a lot. They're not fun to watch. I don't feel like they enjoy the style of play that they're playing. I'm not going to say they're not playing hard.
You know what? I swear I had the same exact feeling watching Mackenzie Mbako. I don't know why, but I had that same feeling. It just doesn't look like they're enjoying what they're trying to accomplish the way they're trying to accomplish it.
Yeah. I mean, the goal for this team every time down the floor is to throw the ball so that, Renew and Ballo touch it in the paint. Like that's the goal every time down the court. And I think that's a mistake. Like that's just my opinion, but I think that's a mistake. I think college basketball has changed. I think that would have worked many, many years ago. I still think they'll beat some good teams. Days they get things going their way, things that they get, they get off to a good start. I think they'll be able to get away with that, and they will beat some good teams that way, but not consistently. And you're not going to go through a run, I don't think, of beating a bunch of good teams once you get to, the Big Ten and the conference tournaments, and then hopefully the NCAA tournament. You're not going to beat that many teams in a row playing that style of basketball. And college basketball has evolved, and I don't feel like our program really has.
Yeah, and I know it's hard for you to say some of those things, but there's not a lot else you can say. I mean, it is the truth. And I before earlier, I mentioned someone that said, well, hey, why would we want to, if we wanted this or wanted that? I'm like, man, if you're even thinking about change, you're going to have to endure a season.
No doubt.
So that's just like nothing is going to happen in season. All you can hope for is that they get better, because right now we're starting to see some of these Big Ten teams who are going to be good. I've been asking because I didn't know. It's been hard to know who is going to be good in this Big Ten season. Purdue is looking like, you know what? They're going to be better than I thought they were. Trey Kaufman-Renn is playing pretty damn well in replacement of Zach Edey, just in a much different way. And so they're going to be a team that's going to be reckoned with. Illinois is once again Brad Underwood. Man, that dude should get not coach of the year, but coach of the multiple years, because he's able to put together a team year after year when he loses a ton. And it's like, okay, he's got another team put together. Michigan, Dusty May is putting a team together. Ohio State has done wonders since they've made their change. And then UCLA. So it's going to be a hell of a lot tougher at the top than
you're leaving out
realize.
the team I think is the best in the Big Ten, and that's Rutgers.
Yes. I mentioned them earlier. A great Nate Oates was talking about having to play them. Man, there are so many freshmen, Todd, that are really playing well, and there's no better example than the Rutgers team.
Yeah, Dylan Harper. I mean, he might be the best player in the country, and I'm not kidding. Like Ace Bailey, I've thought all along, like he was, when I watched them in the McDonald's All-American game, Ace Bailey was the best player on the floor. Dylan Harper might be the most unstoppable player in college basketball. And I know Cooper Flagg, everybody says he'll get drafted first, and he probably should. He's an amazing player. I'm not downgrading what I think of him at all. But Indiana's going to have to play Rutgers a couple times, and I'm telling you, I've watched them, and it's not just those two. They've got some guys surrounding them that are pretty good. Heck, the best player that was on their team last year, his last name's Williams. I can't remember his first name. But the best player on their team comes off the bench from last year, and he was their leading scorer, and he was good. And they're a solid team. This is not a show about Rutgers, but the Big Ten is going to be tough. It's not going to be this league you're going to be able to go walk through and overpower people the way that I think Indiana is built to do. And I'm frustrated from the standpoint of we had a good opportunity to make some statements in this tournament with this basketball team. This basketball team is talented. We said that before the season started. I'm still going to continue to say it. This team is extremely talented. Why they are not able to compete in these big events and big games is a big question mark. I think that has to be answered.
Oh, yeah, because if you look at them, the losses just in the last two seasons, on neutral court games, to whether it's been UConn, Auburn, Kansas, I could go down then you add this year to the list. They're 25-point losses or higher, and this one wasn't. They got into it's still double digits. It was still embarrassing, but they have all been embarrassing losses, and that cannot be a coincidence.
I mean, it's happened too many times. Like, you're right. You mentioned last year. It even happened the year before that. But last year we got excited about to play a game against Arizona and Kansas and those, and they're over at halftime. And how many times does that have to happen? I know the fan base is finicky. I get it. We're all a little nuts. I'm part of that fan base. I'm part of that nuts. I get it. And you're allowed to say that because of how we overreact about a lot of circumstances. But it's not overreacting when it keeps happening. Now we're just stating the facts that are happening. Like, we're not overreacting because we had one bad game. We've had a lot of bad games. And we either accept that we're a mediocre program or we've got to figure out a way to make some changes. And don't think I'm making a suggestion of those being coaching changes or player changes. I honestly believe we are set up. I think with the coaching staff and with the players that we have, this team has a chance to be successful. I don't think they have a chance to be successful if we try to go pound it down everybody's throat and win games in the paint every game.
And unfortunately, though, under this particular staff, that has been the option of choice, and it's been that way every year, and it has been that way to build the team. I'm not sure that there is the thought that of a way to do it differently than that, and therefore I don't think you're going to see it be done any differently than that.
In yesterday's game with Gonzaga, when they got down in the, I'll say, kind of later part of the first half, I think it was, and they started playing a little more helter-skelter and going down the floor and making some threes. We saw Galloway come down and throw it back to Goody for a kind of a transition three. And it might not look great, but that's what wins in college basketball today. That's how Alabama plays. That they don't consider those shots when they don't go in bad shots.
Louisville looked like they played helter-skelter the whole game.
They do. That's the only way they can win. They're only going to beat you by making the game crazy and making some threes. And that game, it looked like one. I thought they were going to have to make 15 or 17 threes in order to beat Indiana. And they didn't, because they got ahead so early, and they made it a helter-skelter game where they were shooting a lot of layups. They were dry. It turned into a transition game. They didn't have to shoot those threes, but I didn't even look and see what they did yesterday in their win yesterday, how many threes they made in that game. But that's how Louisville is built, to get up and down the court and score a whole bunch of points and try to outscore you. And there's a lot of arguments to be made as to why that's might not be successful. And I know old school coaches don't love that game plan, but I think you're starting to see that's what wins. That's what more teams are ending up doing. And it's easier to recruit players if they want to come in and play, fast up and down. But I will also say, I don't think, as just as a straight up basketball fan, I'm not writing off UConn right now as to be a powerhouse in the national scene of things at the end of the year. And they just went 0-3 in the Maui Classic. So Indiana's 0-2 right now with a chance to go 0-3 today or 1-2. I'm not going to write them off because I'm not writing UConn off yet. Indiana's team is insanely talented. Like, they have the talent to win. I do believe they, meaning the coaching staff and everyone, I do believe they need to maybe change the philosophy a little bit and maybe go a little more up-tempo style. And it's probably not going to happen. I understand. I've thought that for a couple of seasons now, and it doesn't seem to ever happen. But I think this team's built – when they put Miles Rice on the bench at the beginning of the game yesterday, I almost could have told you what the outcome was going to be, because he's trying to punish – in my opinion, he's punishing the wrong people for the wrong things. Let these guys be a little out of control. Let them go up and down. You're forcing these guards to feed the ball inside. You're forcing turnovers on the guards. I'm just going to say it. Like, that's a fact. Like, they are not great at feeding the post, and we are telling them this is the number one goal every time down the floor is to throw the ball in the post. And we're throwing the ball away way too much just trying to get it inside. And when we get it inside, because it's been 2 passes, the inside guys have guys double teaming them, and the defense hasn't had to move around, and they're playing against two guys, and we're not scoring half the time that happens. But I thought Indiana looked pretty good and pretty comfortable, and enjoyed when they made a run yesterday against Gonzaga, getting up and down the floor, shooting quick, shooting fast, letting it be a helter-skelter game. I felt like that's where they looked a little more comfortable.
You were asking about Louisville. They ended up shooting 7 of 28 on threes against West Virginia for 25%, and they were outshot. West Virginia went 9 of 26 for 34%, but where they made their bones was at the free throw line. They got there 33 times, or they should 33 free throws as compared to 12 for West Virginia, and outscore them 24-9 at the free throw line. So that's another thing, getting to the free throw line.
Yeah, it's probably that. And you get to the free throw line by having some type of driving advantage, or it being a fast-paced up and down the court game, and you draw in a bunch of fouls. And look, you don't, unless you're Zach Edey, and like I firmly believe this is the case, unless you're a guy that's like that's so much bigger than everyone else. Today's college basketball, you're not really going to go down and get other teams into that bad of foul trouble. And when you do, they generally have another guy they can bring off the bench that can play defense in there. And so I think the way to get to the free throw line, and the guys that we want at the free throw line, I mean, I don't want Ballo at the free throw line. He shoots less than 50% from the free throw line. I want the guards at the free throw line. And that means we need to get up and down the floor and play a different pace. And I don't think they'll play any differently. I don't think anything will be any different. All I can do as a fan is sit here and hope that at some point in time, the game turns into such a helter-skelter game, and Coach Woodson likes the look of how that goes, and we change our philosophy a little bit. Because otherwise, I think the more we all say, although I don't think he listens or hears any of this, but I think the more that we all say, or the outside noise says, they need to play a different style, the more he's going to play the same style.
Yeah, it's not going to change. Let's take a quick break. We've got lots of sports coming up this week in Indiana with another game now, and an opportunity to salvage a little bit of this trip to the Bahamas. They'll take on the Providence Friars. We're back with more. Todd Leary, the voice of the shot doctor, is with us from myjumpshot.com. If you have a kid or know a kid or a kid that needs some help with your shooting, with your basketball fundamentals overall, just go to myjumpshot.com. We're back with more after this break.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's C-O-Y-L-E, to receive a discounted fundraiser. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Realty at cheryl@indyhomepros.com or 317-701-0838. 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore help you find the home you want today.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at bendavischevrolet.com and bendavisford.com.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Friday, post-Thanksgiving. I hope you had a great one. Todd Leary, the shot father from myjumpshot.com with us. And Todd, Indiana will take on the Providence Friars today in the losers bracket, I guess you'd call it. So what can we expect to see against the Friars?
Well, I don't know much about the Friars other than they've obviously lost a couple of games as well here. But, what can I expect? I expect to see the exact same thing I've seen the last couple of days. Indiana come down and see how many times they can throw the ball into the paint and how many touches Ballo and Renew can get inside the paint. And, in these circumstances, I don't know a lot about Providence, but, I mean, if they're inside guys, they're not big and physical, then Indiana will probably win and overpower them in this game and come out of it feeling like, okay, that game, that philosophy is going to work. And then we'll play a couple of more non-conference games, here in December, and those will look okay. But when they play in the Big Ten, they're going to have to change their philosophy, or they're not going to be at the top. This team is talent-wise top 3 in the Big Ten. Even with the way that you've mentioned, Purdue's got off to a pretty good start, and Illinois looks good. I think Rutgers is pretty darn good. Michigan State's average, but it's Tom Izzo, so you never know. But Indiana is top 3 talent in the Big Ten, and the way they're playing right now with this pounded inside philosophy, they're not going to finish in the top 3. They're not going to finish. They're getting closer to the middle of the pack, which is unacceptable for this talent.
Oh, and I mean, we'll talk about the rest of that later, but some bad news for you is that the Friars entering the game with Davidson last night, They averaged 71 points per game, shooting 44% from the field overall, 32.4% from three-point range, and that's on 30 three-point shots per game. That is a lot of three-point shots to go up, and especially when you're hitting 32%, that's pretty damn good.
It's the percentage is not very good, but I mean, still you're making 10 a game. And so, if you're putting that many up, you're making 10 a game. And it, that's a scenario that's a scary team to play against, because if it is their DNA to put up that many threes, and they've not shot a great percentage at it, but that's their system and that's the way they continue to play, that's a scary team. Because if they get hot, if they put up 33s and make 14 or 15 of them, that's a tough team to beat no matter what. And so, look, if Indiana gets off to the same start that they have in the last couple of games, then I think that they'll probably struggle to win this game. And this team wasn't designed to just be able to beat Providence. This team was designed to be able to compete against the best teams in the country. And right now, at this time of year, this is why you go out and play those games. This is why we were excited they were going to play in the Battle for Atlantis, because they were going to play some good opponents, and they've just not looked very good against them. And so I don't want to say it's backfired, but if you go into these trying to figure out where you're at, where we're at is not where we thought we were or wanted to be. So we got some work to do.
And teams that excel at the guard area, that seems to be a real bugaboo for this team right now. Even with having the new guys in there, Kanan Carlisle, who started the game playing like his hair was on fire defensively, and Miles Rice, but obviously he saw the bench a little bit yesterday, kind of early, so not a good sign there. But Providence has their three leading scorers are three guards, and so Indiana's gonna get a healthy dose of that again today.
Yeah, I mean, and that's not just Indiana struggles against teams with good guards. That college basketball is a little different, and teams that have good guards are the ones who usually end up winning. I mean, I know you mentioned Trey Kaufman-Renn for Purdue and how well he's playing, but I mean, when their guards play well is when they win, and when they don't, that's when they struggle to beat teams, and that's the way across college basketball. It is, and guards can dominate. They've got the ball in their hands way more often. Guards can dominate a game, and Indiana doesn't play that way. Mike Woodson, I don't feel like he's never told me this. I just watch his team play a lot, so this is what I deduct from it. But Mike Woodson wants the leading scorer on his team to be either Malik Renew or Omar Ballo, about every game. And if he doesn't want that, then he needs to change the system, because that's the system that he runs and the plays that they run and where they want the ball to go. That's what it looks like. And, other teams let their guards go out and run and go crazy and shoot a lot of times some bad shots. What would have been considered 25 years ago bad shots are today's not considered a bad shot. So if the game has evolved and changed, and it's, this team needs to, I think, do the same.
Yeah, and we know the likelihood of that happening is not
Very
much
slim.
because it's not built that way, and
Nope.
it hasn't been coached that way. And you can say that without pointing anything at anyone. You can just say it. It is what it is. But with these guards, we thought Indiana was going to be a little more guard oriented. I mean, and Miles Rice has given us flashes of his scoring ability. We know he had a 30-point scoring game last year against against the other guard that we're talking about for Indiana when the Washington
Carlisle?
When Washington State played Stanford. So they both had 30-point output games in that same game. But it's for whatever reason, whether it's the setup, the style, those guys seem to be stymied in their ability to play.
Well, I think over the last couple of years, I think the games Indiana, once the game has kind of formulated how it's going to play out, I think when Indiana's been at its best has been when or the toughest to defend is when Trey Galloway's had the ball in his hands coming off that high ball screen, driving down into the lane, and he's been able to make plays. I think Miles Rice is just as probably more capable at that same play than Trey Galloway is. So they've got two guards that can do that now. My issue with it is that's not the plays that they run. They only go to that once the game has gotten to the point where that's the play they have to run. And I don't think that Coach Woodson likes that play because it gets his big guy too far out away from the basket, setting that ball screen. But that's when Indiana, I think, has played at its best and been its toughest to defend when they spread the floor like that. And so it's kind of battling against each other. What I think has worked the best is not the philosophy that Coach Woodson likes to see. And that, I think, is the inter squad battle they've got going on is trying to fit the pieces that he has out on the floor into what he wants them to do. And I'll be honest, I just don't quite think it fits the right way right now. Maybe they'll get it to that point, or maybe he'll adjust and go back to a little more fast pace up and down play. But, you can't say I want a team that plays fast and gets up and down the court and then put a lineup out there that has two guys on it that don't really get up and down the court. Like, that's just not the way it works.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we've seen that for the last couple. We've heard that and seen that for, and it's just it's not come to fruition. I don't know if it's a fear or if it's just, I don't know what it is. You would know much better than I. I am not a coach. I am not someone who is as deeply enthralled into the inner workings that quickly is someone like you that can just read it so fast. But they're going to have to change to win in the Big Ten. I mean, these teams that they're going to be facing, Todd, are uber talented. They're going to get up and down the floor. They're going to score points quickly. They're going to try to stretch you out, which is everything that Indiana doesn't want.
100%. That is exactly right. And I, we're just going to keep beating the dead horse here, but I don't know that the philosophy is going to change. I don't know that. I don't think he wants it to change. I think he wants to make his system work. And when I say, he obviously I'm referring to Coach Woodson. I don't think there's any question that he wants this team to be, or he wants whatever team he puts on the floor to be a pounded inside, we're going to overpower you type of game. And boy, if that's not what he wants, he sure doesn't show it by the plays that they run, because running the ball through these particular players, a lot of teams run the ball through their big guys, but those big guys are generally at the high post or even top of the key a lot of times. And they're running off of, that X play that everybody runs off of that, where you're cutting off of it. And even Purdue runs that. But it's big guys catching the ball at the free throw line and up at the top of the key. And Indiana's big guy, the plays Indiana run are not that. They're to catch the ball. Whenever they do that, it's only to throw a high-low pass from one big guy to another. We've seen these guys. I do think that they'll get more in sync, Ballo and Renew, when they play together. But so far, the high-low has not been a major factor. It's worked a time or two, but it's not been a major factor in what teams have to defend, and they're not that worried about giving up one or two baskets a game to that. So they're not really defending it that way. It's not the threat that I think Coach Woodson thought it was going to be.
The bucket game tomorrow, man. We can switch subjects there easily. Indiana taking on Purdue. I think that they need to win convincingly just to put the committee members' minds at ease. They want Indiana in. Ward Manuel is the AD at Michigan. He wants to see a Big Ten team in. He probably knows that they deserve to be in, but he would rather Indiana did him a little solid and just beat the crap out of Purdue and make it a lot easier.
No question about it. It definitely needs to be. It definitely needs to be a convincing win. I think. I'm not saying needs to be in order to get into the thing. I just think from the team psyche and what they've got coming up, and what's in front of them and the opportunities that they have, I feel like they need to get a little bit back on track. And I think from their perspective, they need a convincing win that it doesn't need to be some crazy, a bunch of 70-yard pass plays. It needs to be we can pretty much move it down the field and score in a bunch of different ways throughout the entire game, and just a convincing, 42-14 win, and just move on.
Exactly. I think they need that as much as for themselves as anything else. They've got to get back to knowing that they are that good, that they can do that. I mean, let's be honest. They played Michigan and Ohio State, who they're one of the big boys, man. I don't care if Michigan is a national championship caliber team right now or not. They still have remnants of that, and they have players. They just had an offer, an 8-figure offer NIL for a quarterback, dude. That means $10 million. They're serious about getting guys in, and I don't mean that as opposed to anyone else, but they are going to have them, and they still have big linemen, and they have a hell of a defensive line. Ohio State does as well. I think they're the best team in the country, so there's no shame in learning a lesson at the hand of the top team in the country, as long as you come back and play better the next game out.
Yeah. And hey, look at this is the opportunity for Indiana to get a little bit back on track. The last 6 quarters, those last 2 against Michigan and then all 4 in the Ohio State game, they've not played as well as they know they're capable of playing. And I think a little bit of that has to do with competition. I think a little bit has to do with, just it was an opportunity for them to learn a little bit about themselves. And I think they'll be better for it. I like the fact that Coach Signetti has the idea of getting better after those games. And, things went wrong. The hard part about that Ohio State game, the score looks a lot different than what that game was. Like Indiana, the first quarter, I think most people looked at that and said, okay, Indiana might be the best team in the country. And then, some things went wrong and they didn't handle it well. And I'm the first one to admit that. Like, you have to handle that well if you're going to be the best team in the country, and they didn't. And so I do think they learned some things about themselves, and I think this is a good opportunity to go fix those and get ready for, what lies ahead after the bowl game. And I think that's going to be something that's pretty positive for them as long as they go take care of business tomorrow.
Absolutely. And you never know where they're going to end up right now, slotted to
well, I would love to have the way it's slotted right now. I'd love to have that be the outcome.
Well, you know what? A lot of people agree with you, and I'm one of them, because Penn State Indiana played there well last year with the team that they had, the 3-9 team. They gave them all they wanted. And now this is a Penn State team who is pretty good defensively, but they don't have a ton of offense.
Yeah,
and
they've squeaked out of a couple games that they easily could have gone the other way on as well. And so, I'm just saying, you're going to play a really good team. If you get to the college football playoffs, you're going to play a really good team. And being slated where Indiana would be at that point at number 11, I don't think they could ask for a better situation than playing against Penn State. And I'm not degrading Penn State. I'm just saying I'd take the playoffs set the way that they are right now. That'd be perfect.
Another possibility. That's if nothing changes, but the odds of nothing changes are not good. If you watch college football all year.
Last weekend was a train wreck for the way things were supposed to go.
But how fun is this, that this is what we get week after week now? It used to be, this team lost in week 2, so they're out. Now it's week by week, and everything is changing. The drama has been amazing.
I think as fans, we all get to sit back and say, we told you so, because we've been begging for this for years, and look at what it's done. Not just this week or last week, the last 3 or 4 Saturdays in all the years past, we would have pretty much known who was going to be 3 of the 4. Last year there was 4 team playoff. We would have known what 3 of the 4 were going to be already, and we would have gone on from there. But at this point, to still have this many teams fighting for it and this many teams still thinking they have a chance, it's so much more fun and so much better for the game and fans and everybody. I cannot possibly think that the committees and everybody involved doesn't think this is a huge success. And it sure has been fun from a fan's perspective.
Absolutely, brother. I wish you and your family a happy Thanksgiving weekend, and I hope you get to enjoy some turkey football tomorrow.
You bet. You know I will.
All right, brother. Appreciate you. Be safe out there. Todd Leary from myjumpshot.com joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We've got more coming up. Zach Osterman from the Indy Star will join us. He's actually in the Bahamas, so we'll talk to him a little bit more about the debacle that has been Indiana basketball. And we've got more football to talk about, and we'll hear from Mike Woodson as well later on in the program. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after these messages from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Hoosier Hanks East, located on College Ball Road in front of Kroger in Bloomington, is everything you could want. Great food like their custom pizzas, wings, wraps, unbeatable daily drink specials, live music on Fridays, and Hoosier Hanks East is home to Inside Indiana Football and Inside Indiana Basketball coaches shows hosted by Don Fisher. Be on the lookout for Hoosier Hanks ticket giveaways to Indiana and Colts games on social media. Stop by and meet Hoosier Hank at Hoosier Hanks East on College Ball Road in Bloomington. Hungry for something a little different? Well, head to the Rusty Gator Fork and Ale in Bedford, where oceanic flavors meet southern charm with a Cajun flair, like their loaded voodoo fries, gator bites, or jambalaya, and so much more. The Rusty Gator also has live music each Friday and Saturday night with some of the best local and regional artists around. Visit the Rusty Gator Fork and Ale in Bedford and get your Cajun on. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Realty at Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-701-0838. 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore help you find the home you want today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, here on this Friday after Thanksgiving. I hope you had a great one at the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios, joined now kindly enough, by Zach Osterman, who is in Atlantis in the Bahamas, covering the Indiana Hoosiers down there. And Zach, I hope it's been a great trip outside of the gym for you, because I'm sure it has been a grueling one on the inside.
Yeah, obviously, Indiana's, played pretty poorly down here. I don't think there's any way around that. I think they looked a little bit better against Gonzaga than they did against Louisville, but I think that was just, kind of a matter of degrees in a lot of respects. I mean, Gonzaga still led that game by 18 at halftime. I think its largest lead was 23. There's been kind of the I guess the quantifiable, which is, Indiana's looked really poor, both offensively and defensively. I think Indiana has been exposed in the way it defense ball screen coverages. Mark Few said something yesterday that felt like a pretty honest admission that Gonzaga had just kind of didn't have a lot of respect for the way Indiana covers ball screens. And you could see that with just how many, easy looks around the rim Gonzaga was landing. When you think about, I think it's 46 points in the paint, 36 in the first half. And then there's the inquantifiable, which I think probably falls more in the category of, what we saw against Louisville, which was just a team that looked, frankly, like it was, kind of rolling over a little bit. It just looked like it had lost kind of its pushback in a lot of ways. Yeah, I mean, that's, there's really no way around it. Indiana's given up 176 points in 80 minutes here, or 178 points, excuse me, in 80 minutes. It's been pretty bad basketball.
Yeah, and you mentioned something about Gonzaga, but it was the same for Louisville. Louisville, a team who we knew was going to focus on the three-point shot, and they got up a ton of those. I see for the game, what did they end up? 27. But
I think they were 10 to 27.
Yeah, more importantly, though, they outscored Indiana in the paint like 48 to 28. I forget what the exact numbers were, but it was substantial.
And I mean that wasn't post offense, and it wasn't with Gonzaga either. It wasn't it wasn't a dominant post player going down low, posting up, and just scoring really, really well. It was Indiana getting beat off the dribble. Indiana getting, again, exposed in ball screen coverages and ball screen situations, and that leading to really basic, forced rotations, forced help that was just leaving either giving players, easy looks around the rim, or I think this was more in Gonzaga's case, but it happened in the Louisville game too, leaving players just completely unattended, basically, in layup position. Mike Woodson said after, I think it was the Gonzaga game, that he thought this team was in the place it needed to be going into this trip. He thought he had his defense kind of dialed in the way he wanted. And it's, he admitted this yesterday. It's kind of an obvious thing to say, but it's pretty clear that was not the case, because Indiana has just completely and totally collapsed defensively here. And to your point about paint points, like I said, it's not like Indiana was facing dominant post players. It's the paint points we're talking about are not post ups that lead to post moves that lead to good finishes. We're talking about layups and dunks and wide open looks for players who are just completely undefended around the rim. And that's got to be kind of the most fundamental piece of your defense, right? Like you just not giving up anything easy around the rim has to be where it starts, and Indiana's just not been able to do that.
No, they haven't. Louisville finished with 4 players in double figures and 3 more with 8 points. So they were getting it from all around, where in that game, Indiana was only getting points from Malik Renew, Umar Ballo, and Mackenzie Mbako for the most point. Later on, that changed a little bit, but they didn't have a point from a guard or from anyone until like midway through the second half. And Rice ends up with 3, Carlisle with nothing. So, and Cups with nothing. Leo had 5 points. I'm not sure when those came, but they're getting, really nothing from the guard position. And that is not going to win you any games, not in this age of college basketball.
No. And again, that's where you do wonder a little bit more about the intangible side of a lot of this, and just whether, kind of where Indiana's head is collectively as a team. I just think you've seen players that have just, I don't like to use the word quit, I don't think most athletes quit. I think maybe there are times when you're, as somebody who played in my share of, lopsided defeats in high school when I played football, like there are probably times when you think you're trying hard and you're not. Like there's just something in your subconscious that is saying it's, the lead's too big, the game is gone. You think you're playing hard, but it's not at the level you would be if it was a tie game or whatever. I don't think these players have quit, but I do think you have seen, a disconnectedness in the way that coaches often talk about how players need to sort of get tighter together when things start to go wrong. They need to be more connected. They need to fight harder for one another. They need to communicate better. They need to, just kind of work that extra bit harder to make sure they're all rowing at the same time in the same direction. And I think you've seen, this team really lose its connectivity with itself, pretty much as soon as these games have really started to go wrong. And that's been particularly evident at the guard position, and it always will be, because guards, it's through your guards that your offense flows. I mean, like I thought in the Louisville game, Miles Rice was very clearly trying too hard. I don't think he was quitting. I think he was forcing the action too much. But you can tell when, in particular, a point guard is doing that, because a point guard's got the ball in his hands every possession, and when he's forcing, when he's not letting the game sort of flow through him and come to him, comfortably or naturally, it's a lot more apparent than some other positions. And I'm not trying to pick on Miles Rice. Trey Galloway struggled out here. Cannon Carlisle struggled out here. Obviously, we could talk about other positions. We're just kind of centering on the guards right now. I don't think anybody's really free from blame, but it has just been that guard rotation in particular has kind of been representative of what this was supposed to look like, and decidedly hasn't.
Yeah, and they go into a game today with a Providence team who also lives and dies by the three. I noticed that they hit around 32%, but that is on 33-point attempts per game, which that's getting a lot of shots up. And if you can get 32% off of those, you're going to be happy. Like Todd Leary was on with this early, so that's 10 a game. And so that is something Indiana is going to have to be ready and leery of, no pun intended, as they go forward today against the Friars.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, it kind of goes without saying, I don't think Indiana is in a position to take anybody lightly. Now, I don't think Providence is necessarily, the best team on earth here, obviously. A couple battling defeats. I mean, they looked better in the Oklahoma loss than they did against Davidson. They didn't really have a good win, if anything. Like you look at kind of some of their wins, and they only beat Central Connecticut State by 4. They only beat Hampton by 9. They only beat Green Bay by 13. But nevertheless, I mean, if you're Indiana, like there's no sort of style of basketball. There's no team in this field that you can look at and not take seriously. And I mean, if you want to talk about things they do well are things that are problems for Indiana. That, as you say, they aren't the best 3-point shooting team in the country, but they do take a lot of threes. They score a lot of their points on threes, and they're a very good rebounding team. And, teams that have been able to hit threes on Indiana and sort of lopside the offensive formula a little bit on Indiana have given Indiana a lot of trouble, because that's, Indiana's had to answer threes with twos or threes with free throws often. And Indiana has, frankly, this year in particular, but I think this has been a consistent problem throughout Mike Woodson's tenure. Indiana's really struggled to clear offensive rebounds, particularly the ones that come on three-pointers, particularly the ones that are, those longer caroms that you get on a three, as opposed to a shot around the rim, or let's say inside 10 feet, where the rebound tends to stay kind of within the circle, so to speak. When you those longer shots create longer caroms, and Indiana really struggles to clear those sort of 12 to 15 foot rebounds, and Providence is really good at a lot of those things. So I don't think Indiana can take this team lightly. I mean, I don't think they will, but again, I mean, we're talking about a team that's given up 89 points now, twice in as many games. I mean, it's hard to have a ton of faith in Indiana at this point.
Absolutely. Switch. First of all, how have the Bahamas been? At least have you got to enjoy outside at all?
Yeah, no, I mean the weather's been good. It's been obviously more mild here given the time of year, and it's cool in the sense that kind of everything's contained here in the resort, and so you see like a lot of fans, and I've seen a number of folks I know from other programs like Nate Weechers, who was one of IU's SIDs for several years and is now Arizona's lead SID. Connected with Nate, saw Noah Vonleh was out here. I think his sister plays for Baylor, if I'm not mistaken. And then I saw a couple of India, obviously IU fans will be familiar with Tom Ostrom and Corey Barnett. We're both on staff with Darian DeVries at West Virginia. So it's kind of fun because you kind of, it's a little bit like if an NCAA tournament, was an NCAA tournament site was housed all in one like big hotel complex with the arena there and everything. You just kind of run into everybody, and it's cool because it is. I mean, it sounds silly, but it's kind of a little bit of a festival of basketball. Like I'd never covered this event. I've been out here for Indiana's preseason tour, but they've never played in Atlantis proper. And it is just kind of cool to, you just run into a lot of people, and obviously getting to talk to a lot of IU fans. And of course, the last couple of days have been pretty frustrated, but I think everybody is still enjoying the spectacle, if you will. And I do think, it's worth saying, I think the folks that put this event on do a really, really good job, like just kind of keeping everything flowing and smooth. And, I haven't seen really problems with like crowd control or ticket take or, clearing the gym for one game to get it filled for the next one and that kind of stuff. It all moves along really smoothly. It's a really well-run event.
Now, have you been to events before where they're played in this ballroom type setting? I have not. I didn't make it down there this year, and I've not been in one of those settings, so I know that has to be unique. Is it louder because their sound has no place to go?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. Obviously, we saw Indiana play out here in the preseason tour 3 years ago. And that was, of course, going to be a smaller crowd. And, I think there's a team from Serbia, BC Mega, that I think is the one that kind of comes over and plays those preseason tours pretty consistently every year. And of course, as you'd imagine, they don't really bring a ton of fans. So it's all kind of down to the team that's doing the preseason touring, so to speak. But with like 8 different fan bases represented, and obviously everybody here until the end, that's the other difference with an NCAA tournament environment, is you kind of wind up in a situation where eventually fans start leaving because their team loses. Everybody sticks around here. Everybody's kind of in for a penny with all these games. So the arena's cool. Like I said, the step is really cool. I mean, I've seen some ballrooms before. I guess if we're ranking it, this is as good of a ballroom setup as I've ever seen. It very much just feels like a neutral floor. It feels like an NCAA tournament floor, essentially. And like I said, it's just kind of cool that like everything and everyone involved here is all kind of contained in one place.
Yeah, very unique. Now switching to football, Indiana taking on Purdue in the bucket game tomorrow. Will you make it back in time for that game?
I'm going to try to. We'll see what the travel gods allow, especially on the Saturday after Thanksgiving. But I'm going to try to.
Yeah, with Indiana having an unusual 7 p.m. Kickoff against Purdue, that affords a lot of people to actually make it back, which was a little surprising. So, but Indiana needing to just play their game, Zach. I don't think that they're in danger of being knocked out of the CFP poll, but I don't think that they should give any ammunition or opportunity to any committee members that may be on the fence with a lackluster performance.
Yeah, I mean that's I think pretty much all you can do if you're Indiana at this point. Is just go out there and basically be as impressive as you can be. I think, obviously, Purdue's the worst team in the Big Ten. I don't think there's any way around that. On the other hand, this game has a history of throwing up, kind of unexpected results, as all rivalry games do, that derail seasons here and there. I think Indiana fans, if we're talking about maybe unpleasant memories for IU fans, we think back to that 1980 was in 1989. I think the Anthony Thompson, Heisman chase, and Anthony Thompson's teammates swear that if they'd beaten Purdue, he would have had a better shot at winning that Heisman. I don't know if that's true or not, but you talk to guys who played on that team, and they'll tell you. I mean, I've talked to Mark Hagan many times about that, and he'll swear up and down that if Indiana had found a way to win that game against Purdue, that Anthony Thompson would have had a better shot at the Heisman. So,
well, I agree, because there's only one guy has never won the Heisman off of a team with a losing record, and that guy played. He played for Notre Dame, so that helped him a lot. So I believe that to be the truth, and it's sad, but I think that may be truthful.
And the point is, these games do have a habit of doing that, and I don't think Indiana's not going to be the only team. I mean, Alabama's hopes, whatever are left of them, are going to rely on not tripping up in the Iron Bowl against an Auburn team that suddenly has some offensive punch, and you've got Georgia's hosting Georgia Tech, which is a team that's already put a dent in Miami's resume and runs the ball pretty well. And, obviously Texas A&M is a play-in game for the SEC championship game. And if A&M loses it, then they're out of the running. Clemson and South Carolina is another big one. I don't think South Carolina can necessarily play its way onto the bubble with a win against Clemson, but I certainly think Clemson needs to beat South Carolina to stay on the bubble itself. So the point is, we can kind of go on and on with this, but from Indiana's perspective, the chance here is kind of to show that obviously you've kind of righted the ship after the Ohio State game, and B, frankly, to some extent, to kind of reinforce what it is that Indiana has been doing well this season, which is when Indiana plays inferior competition, Indiana looks a clear class above. And again, Purdue is, by any measure, the worst team in the Big Ten this season. And I'm not saying that out of some rivalry spite or to pick on Purdue. That's what the numbers tell you. Purdue is last in the Big Ten in scoring defense, last in the Big Ten in total defense. I think they are, if they're not last, they're third from last in total offense. Excuse me. They're in a similar position in scoring offense. So the point is they don't score, they don't move the ball. They don't stop opponents, and they don't stop opponents scoring the ball, and that's how you wind up 1-10. Somebody's asked me, a couple people have asked me if this is the widest I've ever seen the gap between the two programs. It probably is, and I don't know if there's a time historically when Purdue has been this much better than Indiana, but I think this is probably the widest in the modern era the gap has ever been in favor of Indiana between these two programs. And the point there is you just got to go out and look dominant again if you're Indiana, and that doesn't mean you need to chase a 50-point score or anything like that, because that's how you start making mistakes. You just kind of need to go out there and just execute drive by drive and just kind of let it pile up. And if Indiana does get into a situation where, let's say it's fairly in hand late third, early fourth quarter, I'm not sure Indiana stops trying to score, and that's again not a rivalry thing so much as it is, I think, Indiana trying to do whatever it can to goose its metrics and improve its resume. That's what everybody's got to do this time of year, and Indiana's no different.
Absolutely. They've said many times that those types of numbers matter, and you might as well get them while you can. So it should be a good weekend for Indiana, though. It's going to be chilly out there, and hopefully the students are gone right now because of the holiday. I'm not sure how many will make it back and how many other fans will take their place. It will be interesting to see if this stadium is packed or not, because it's a night game and it's going to be cold as well.
Yeah, it's sold out, so I would be surprised if it's not close. It is going to be cold, but we'll see. I would be surprised if Indiana doesn't at least have a healthy crowd for this. We'll see if the weather and all that and the kick time dampen attendance a little bit. But I would be, given the season Indiana's had, I would be pretty surprised if this is not at or close to a sellout.
What time is the game today, Zach? I have forgot to.
It's in about an hour. So when we get off, I'm going to shower and head over.
All right. Well, enjoy that, my friend. And we'll be looking for your content, as you should be, at the Indy Star. Zach is the IU insider for them. Be a subscriber. Keep local papers alive. Zach, I appreciate you as always, my friend.
Thanks for having me, Jim. Talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Zach Osterman joining us from the Bahamas, as he is down there reporting on the Indiana Hoosiers. They will take on the Providence Friars probably as you're listening to us right now. So we'll be back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. We'll hear from Mike Whitson when we come back.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf Community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revestco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com.
Hoosier Hanks East, located on College Ball Road in front of Kroger in Bloomington, is everything you could want. Great food like their custom pizzas, wings, wraps, unbeatable daily drink specials, live music on Fridays, and Hoosier Hanks East is home to Inside Indiana Football and Inside Indiana Basketball coaches shows hosted by Don Fisher. Be on the lookout for Hoosier Hanks ticket giveaways to Indiana and Colts games on social media. Stop by and meet Hoosier Hank at Hoosier Hanks East on College Ball Road in Bloomington. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Marie Island, Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Marie Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Friday. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving yesterday and having an enjoyable weekend, long weekend for those of you. I hope some of you are off work today and enjoying it. The schedule for this weekend, Indiana, of course, hosting Purdue at 7 p.m. tomorrow night, a night game, a rare night game at Indiana's Memorial Stadium, under the lights and the blankets, most likely for most people, as the temperatures will be a little chilly. But you know what? Winning makes it warmer. You're jumping around more, you're cheering more, you're clapping more. So hopefully that'll make it a lot easier. And there's few other things that during the tailgating period that I'm sure most fans will be doing to add some warmth as well. So enjoy that. It's been a hell of a season for Indiana. They're looking for their program record 11th win in a season. Don't forget that. They're at another record yet to fall if they can knock off Purdue tomorrow night. Other games, of course, Michigan at Ohio State, another noon game in Columbus, so you know they're loving it. But that is the game that if Ohio State wins, they go to the Big Ten Championship to take on Oregon in a rematch. And that will be very interesting to see because the winner of that rematch will get the bye. And the loser, not going to drop 4. I would surmise that the loser of that game drops to the first slot that is not a college
or a conference champion. So man, it's weird how things can end up. Indiana could end up playing at Oregon. Let's hope not. I just don't want to travel. I don't want to travel that daggone far. I'll be honest with you. Plus, I think that Penn State would be a better matchup, but that's not to say that they don't end up playing a Notre Dame team if Indiana wins. So, of course, Indiana has to win. They have to beat Purdue. Ohio State has to beat Michigan, and Penn State has to beat Maryland at home. Of course, that should not be a stretch for the Nittany Lions as they play 3:30 in Happy Valley. Maryland is, they've had some games at times this season, but nothing to make you think they're going to go into Happy Valley and upset Penn State. Northwestern hosts Illinois. The number 23 Illini are the only ranked team on the road in the Big Ten this week. Maryland, as I said, goes to Penn State. Notre Dame, number 5 Notre Dame, is at USC in a game that is very important there to keep an eye on. Although USC has not been very good this year, you would think. They've had a lead in the fourth quarter of every game that they've lost. And all of these losses are one-score games, people. I didn't realize that until very recently. Look back at their loss to Washington. They lose by 5. That was on the road. They lost at Maryland by 1. I don't know how they lost that game. That one is one that should just eat them up. They lost by 3 in overtime at home to Penn State, and they lost by a touchdown at Minnesota. They lose by 3 at Michigan. They could have had a very, very different season. They were just that close, and it did not turn out for them. Now with 5 losses in the Big Ten, a little surprising that they ended up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Currently in 10th in the Big Ten. So, but they're 6-5. They're bowl eligible. The amount of bowl eligible teams in the Big Ten, a little surprising. And 2 more have a shot at it with this weekend's schedule. Wisconsin, if they can get a win, they would become 6-6 as they take on Minnesota. Minnesota, I think that's for the Paul Bunyan Trophy. Paul Bunyan Axe, whatever their deal is. That's a noon game on CBS, but an important game because Minnesota is already bowl eligible. They're 6-5, so they're already in. The other team that needs a win to become bowl eligible, the Michigan State Spartans. It wouldn't hurt Indiana for them to become bowl eligible. They're playing Rutgers. That's a winnable game. Rutgers is already bowl eligible at 6-5. So it would be nice to get both of those teams bowl eligible. And that would make it 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, let's start over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That would mean 14 of the 18 Big Ten teams are bowl eligible. And to me, that's impressive because this is not the SEC where you get to play 4 non-conference games. So 14 of 18, that's pretty daggone impressive. I mean, what is that, like 80%? Close? I'm not great with math, but those are pretty high numbers. And I think the Big Ten deserves some credit for that. Purdue, not so much. 0-8 in the conference this year, 1-10 overall. They have their first win. They played over Indiana State in the season opener. That was their only win for the season, and that was a 49-0 win for them. but then they turned around and got blanked 66-7, or not blanked, but 66-7 by Notre Dame. They played Oregon State. They lost to Nebraska. They lost to Wisconsin 52-10. Now, Illinois was a very unique game. They win 50-49 in overtime. Lose 50-49 in overtime, but they put up 40 second half points to get that game into overtime. That was a little shocking. But ever since then, still, Oregon beat them 35-0. Northwestern beat them 26-20. Ohio State beat Purdue 45-0. Penn State beat them 49-10. Michigan State 24-17. What are you expecting from the Indiana Hoosiers? What do they need to do? What do you think this score needs to be for this game? I know everyone wants to talk about IU basketball because they're not happy about it, but you know what? As I'm scrolling through the comments trying to get down, there are so many. You guys have piled them up today, and I appreciate you guys always. For those of you that are following us on YouTube, you can hit those comments up as well. Just go to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. And if you are and you're not subscribed, why aren't you? It's free. Just hit subscribe and the notifications tab so we can always bring the content to you. Let's see. John says he did not go to IU for undergraduate, nor did he go anywhere in the state of Indiana. Having said that, if today Woodson was fired and in the same day Dan Dockich was hired, would that be an upgrade? Well, nothing against Dan, but Dan has not coached in a while. So that's not even an argument that should be held, to be honest with you. I think the question is, Indiana's not going to make any kind of a move in season. And I'm not suggesting they should or they shouldn't. But for those there are those that are pro Woodson, and there are those that are anti-Woodson. And I stated this earlier, for those that if you want to be if someone wanted a new coach, you're going to have to endure a bad season. They don't fire successful coaches, people. They don't fire coaches when they're winning. So, if that's what you want and are hoping for, then you're going to have to endure a season in which the games in which you just saw. Comments about who should be the next coach at Indiana. No. If this was a scenario, and I'm not suggesting it again, but if it was a scenario, do you know who the coach that they should hire, but they wouldn't hire at this point? Chris Beard. Period. End of story. They can't get Dusty May. They missed that train. That ship has sailed. So, if this was a year later, let's fast forward a year. And if you all want to talk about that, we can throw all that out there. Good Lord Almighty. Doug Gottlieb. Holy no. I'd rather they had no coach and they just let the players go out and play. Guys, you guys are really reaching here. Stop with the IU heroes. Why you are convinced it needs to be an IU hero? How many current successful coaches were heroes at their schools? Pretty sure that Bill Self wasn't a hero at Kansas, and he's maybe the best coach in college ball right now. Pat Kelsey wasn't a hero at Louisville. He grew up an Indiana fan. So you've got to be realistic. Do you want to win, or do you want the heroes of your past. Ask yourself that. What matters? Winning or continuing on some tradition that has not been successful? I mean, Bob Knight is not walking through that door. No Bob Knight it's just not happening. But the reality of it is of what could happen. And I'm not saying that they need to fire the coach today and this, that, and the other. I'm just running a what if scenario. If this was the season's over, and let's say it doesn't go well, it continued to go completely about this. And I understand you're being serious, John, but I think that is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. What in the hell has Doug Gottlieb ever done? And why on God's green earth would he be on the top of anyone's list other than Wisconsin, Green Bay? Isn't that where he is? I mean, if you have to be serious. And I think that there's no better well, that's different. I'm not saying I'm talking about right now. I'm not saying right now they should do anything. If at the end of the season, Indiana's season goes like it looks like it's going to go right now, and can that team that we've seen this weekend make the NCAA tournament? Forget about the Big Ten. Until I see something different from this team, I don't see them in the top 4 of the Big Ten. Like Todd said, they look more like a back to the middle of the road. I've listed too many teams that are decent. Ohio State, Maryland, Michigan State looks better. UCLA, Wisconsin, Purdue, Rutgers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 7 teams I've already listed that have looked better. 7. Did I even list you? Yeah. I probably missed Illinois. I didn't even miss the best team, Illinois. There's 8. That's 8 teams that have looked better than Indiana has looked. 8. I'm not saying they're going to finish 9th, but very, very possible. If that were to happen, of course, it would be without question time for a change. And I don't care about hearing, oh, well, they're going to lose this guy and they're going to lose that guy. Guess what, people? You're going to lose people regardless. You are going to lose people regardless, and it doesn't matter because the transfer portal is there. And maybe you'll start pulling in better recruits. I mean, freshmen are not always the top of the list right now, but there are freshmen that are doing very, very well, that are helping their teams. Look at Rutgers, a number 1 example. Look how good they are, being led by freshmen. They're out there. They are definitely out there. I don't think that a change would affect Trent Sisley. I think he is coming to play at Indiana. And Indiana should be grateful for that because he's a hell of a player and he's going to be a hell of a player. But yeah, it doesn't look good. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I can't. It does not look good. Let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to hear what Woodson had to say down in the Bahamas after yesterday's loss. It's a little disheartening for Hoosier fans, without question. But we'll be right back after these messages from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf Community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com.
Hoosier Hanks East, located on College Ball Road in front of Kroger in Bloomington, is everything you could want. Great food like their custom pizzas, wings, wraps, unbeatable daily drink specials, live music on Fridays, and Hoosier Hanks East is home to Inside Indiana Football and Inside Indiana Basketball coaches shows hosted by Don Fisher. Be on the lookout for Hoosier Hanks ticket giveaways to Indiana and Colts games on social media. Stop by and meet Hoosier Hank at Hoosier Hanks East on College Ball Road in Bloomington. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Marie in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Marie Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Friday. Glad to have you with us, no matter where and how you're listening. Thank you for being along with us and taking time out of your holidays to spend some time with us. Don't forget that the ISB merch store is now open and ready for business. Most importantly, we've got the Welcome to the Sig 10 line up there. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see that, but a very, very cool looking design. Proceeds going to the local Boys and Girls Club. So we're hoping we're going to make a nice little donation for Christmas to them. Thanks to each and every one of you. Plenty of other things there. It's simply isbradio.itemorder.com. If you have any troubles, just let me know, but it's just isbradio.itemorder.com. Pretty easy way to find it. But yes, make sure you're also visiting the Hard Truth Distilling Company in beautiful Brown County. As what a great weekend to go out there and spend some time inside the restaurant. They've got a full service restaurant that you can spend time in. So without question, a good place to go and enjoy their spirits, the live music, and everything else they have to offer, like their distillery tours, which are pretty cool as well. Trying to get this. There we go. Get that off of there. All right. Yeah. Go to isbradio.itemorder.com, and that should get you there. You can put the HTTPS in front of it if you want, but that should lead you there regardless. Don't forget also to go to the college pick'ems. I'm still just peed off that I forgot to make my picks last week. Get so busy and forgot that. So now I have 10 10 picks that just went to waste as I'm dropped from 6th to 12th. But you don't win anything for 6th. And let me tell you, our boy James Bowers is just kicking all of our butts. 74-56 on the year. Dude, I've been asking you all year long, why I need you to place my bets for me, or just tell me each week and I'm going to place the bets. Holy cow. He's been rolling with that. So that would he's been rolling. Let me try to decide what the gift is going to be. I'm looking at 2 potential ones, and they're both very, very nice. You'll be sporting a jacket from ISB Radio either way, and depending on what your size is. But yeah, man, this weekend, a lot of football available. So that matters. Ohio State hosting Michigan. Most of us think that that's a foregone conclusion. Not always the case. Ohio State's at home. They have lost to Michigan to the last 2 seasons, I believe. But I don't think that's going to be the what happens this week. As a matter of fact, they are in those picks. And the spread on that was pretty, I think, 3 scores. Is that right? Where did that go? Yeah. Minus 20.5. Well, that's on here. I'm not sure if that's the accurate up-to-date spread, but basically 3 scores. Michigan favored. Tennessee taking on an in-state Vanderbilt team that Tennessee has to win this game or they'll be out of the college football playoffs. Alabama hosting Auburn in the Iron Bowl in what shouldn't be that good of a game. Auburn not good, but Auburn playing for bowl eligibility against the 8-3 Crimson Tide. No way that they get loss number 4 and at home, as they have an outside hope to get into the college football playoffs. SMU hosts Cal as they are, I think their hopes have kind of died. Miami travels to Syracuse as they are still in the offing to play in the playoffs. Arizona State, one of the teams in the Big 12 that as long as they win this game against Arizona, they will be heading to the Big 12 championship, which that became quite the quagmire. Arizona State, and I'm trying to think who the other team is, because they had 4 teams after Kansas went through everybody and just wiped people out. Wiped BYU out. They beat Iowa State. Then they beat Colorado. So Indiana, 28.5 points. That's a lot of points, people. 29, whatever it is. That's a lot of points, man, coming off of a loss. But maybe that's why. But this is a rivalry game. Is it going to be that big? Oregon hosts Washington as well in a rivalry game. So we'll see how those games turn out. Make sure I get over here and hit up your comments. Let's see. Oh, yeah. I said we were going to hear from Mike Woodson. I might as well do that so I don't tell a fib. Get back over here, and here's what his response from yesterday's loss after Indiana lost to Gonzaga.
Tomorrow you got to get ready for. How do you sort of pull your team together from the defensive performances in particular, just guys maybe losing connection with one another too consistently? How do you kind of fix that, especially in a tight turnaround?
Well, we don't have time to practice to try to get it fixed. We play tomorrow at 11, and we'll get up early tomorrow and watch some film and prepare for whoever we're gonna play. We're not connected right now defensively, and I thought the first half it showed again, and second half we played a lot better from a defensive standpoint, and I thought offensively we connected a little bit better. But good teams like Gonzaga and Louisville, you can't spot them like we did, and You know, it's hard to come back against good teams like that. But our guys didn't quit. They competed the second half, and hopefully we can build on that and get ready for tomorrow at 11 o'clock.
Yeah, Coach, big picture question. Since the start of last year, you guys are 13-16 now against fellow high major programs. What would you say to the fans who are starting to get concerned about the big picture kind of stuff?
Well, again, right now my focus is on our team and a new team that's got 7 new players that we're still trying to work things out and work through it. And I'm going to keep pushing until I get this team where I think it should be.
On the focus with your team, I know these tournaments have quick turnarounds and it's hard to get a lot done in such a quick time. But over the last 24 hours, what was your main message to the team, and how much of that did you see translate today?
Well, the main message, we had to play harder than what we did yesterday. And I thought we came out and competed early. Then we hit that dry spot right before the half that gave them the cushion. Second half, I thought we competed. But again, unfortunately, you got to play 2 halves, and we weren't able to put 2 halves together tonight.
That was it, I guess. Wrap that up. Just same old thoughts that, focused on the next game and all that. That's nice, but there has to be some answers. I mean, you've been around long enough. You can give some answers to that. You can just be honest about it or not. I mean, I don't think having a day to practice today is going to change much. I think that it's obviously much deeper than that. So, no sense in pounding on that. We all know that. So we'll see what they can get done against Providence today. And I said before that anything less than 2-1 is a disappointing outing. Now they're looking at not going 0-3, which they would be in serious trouble to make the NCAA tournament if they go 0-3. And they're not in great shape to do it now. But luckily, you've got football to take care of you this weekend, and it's Indiana and Purdue in the bucket game. A game that Indiana is highly favored in, that if they do win and win just comfortably, they are in the college football playoffs. I mean, let me say that again. If Indiana wins this game against Purdue, probably period, but with any kind of confidence, the Indiana Hoosiers are in the college football playoffs. A team that was 3-9 last year. That's kind of why when I hear those, well, we've got all these new faces, I don't want to hear that. It's a basketball team, dude. You've got 5 guys on the floor at the same time. 5. You look at a sport like football that has 22 just on offense and defense, not including special teams. You want to talk about adding new faces in and making things difficult? Run a college offense. Run a football offense with new faces. That is hard. A defense, that is hard. So, yeah, it's time for a little more truth, I think. A little more acceptance of responsibility. But that's not for me to guide. But make sure you go get your college pick'ems in as we hit week 12. I'm sure those winners are going to do that. Looking forward to. We'll be back for the post-game show, a late one tomorrow after the Purdue game. Coach Griffith will be with me live. Hope we may have to delay it just a little bit to find a warm spot because it is going to be cold, people. So bear with us as we may start just a few minutes later tomorrow after the post-game pressers. But appreciate everybody for joining us today. Todd Leary, the Todd Father, and Zach Osterman. Most importantly, each and every one of you. We can't do it without you. We are so fortunate to looking forward to having you back. Join us tomorrow, like I said, after the game on the post-game show. Then again, we're back on Monday to start it over and see what's going where, baby, because football is going to be fun and it's going to continue. Who's going where, we'll know. We'll have a better idea by then.
Bundle up, get ready for Saturday football at Memorial Stadium at 7 p.m. Until after that game, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.